besties, and happy Summerween. Welcome to the second vlog that I've done for you guys for Summerween. There are 2 more prompts that I need to fulfill in order to complete my Summerween experience. The first one is to read a book with 5 words or more in the title, and then the second one is to read a book that takes place in the summer or has summer-like vibes. The prompt that is 5 words or more in the title had me really scratching my brain as to what I was gonna pick. But then I had an actual light bulb moment and remembered that I bought the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires a while ago. It just didn't come to the top of my head because this wasn't one that was like high up on my TBR to read like pretty much at all. But it fits so well. There's actually 8 words in this title, so go big or go home. I know that this one is about some Southern women. I think it might take place in like the 80s or the 90s, but we have these women that start a book club, and then there's a vampire that comes into town, and the story just takes off from there. I've never read a Grady Hendrix books before, so I'm excited to see if I will like his writing and his storytelling. I know this is a highly popular book, and he's just like a highly popular author on BookTube, and I hope I fall into the same grain of people that love his books. And then the second book I'm going to pick up is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I read a couple of Abby Jimenez books. So the first one is Friend Zone, which I gave 1 star. And then I read Part of Your World for a video that I did last year, giving authors that I hate a second chance. Most of the people who have read Part of Your World like love it. They give it 4 or 5 stars. And hot take, I'm one of the people that actually give it 3 stars. I thought it was just fine. I thought it was very mid. That book was over 400 pages and I felt like it didn't need to be. It very much overstayed its welcome for me. I'm picking up this one mainly because it fulfills the prompt, but also it has a hilarious premise. Just posted something on Reddit that basically said that he has been cursed. Every woman that he dates and breaks up with is destined to find the one right after they break up with him. And then we're following Emma, who says, you know, I have the same curse, and they're thinking, okay, their curses will cancel each other out, so they'll date with the fully intending to breaking up, but then it becomes like a romance. So I'm excited because Part of Your World was like a good, fun romance. The Friend Zone was hot shit, but I'm excited to get into another fun romance. I do feel like I am in my romance girly era because I've been reading a ton of them lately. Let's start with the Grady Hendrix books, and then I will update you guys once I am all bit through that book. Sorry for the horrible angle, but I have finished the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I really liked it, surprisingly. Out of all the books that I picked for Summerween, this one I probably had the lowest hopes for because of just like the synopsis that's on Goodreads. Basically, the synopsis of the book is that we're set in like the early 1990s, even though I feel like the book read that it should be in the 1950s is what I feel like, but it's in the 90s. And we're following a group of Southern Carolina moms who have a book club. I think the book club was intended to be very like religious, pious, reading classic works, but we have our main character Patty that's like, ooh, that's kind of boring. So they kind of spin off and start their own book club, but then someone moves into town. His name is James Harris, and slowly but surely crazy things start happening. So we have Patricia, whose mother-in-law, I think her name is Mary, she dies by a rat attack, and then a caretaker goes missing, and then Patricia gets attacked by this person who like bites off her earlobe, and like crazy things starts happening, and then kids go missing, and she has a sinking suspicion that James Harris is at fault, but no one will believe her. She's able to convince some of the book club girlies, and they get together to like tell their husband and tell the cops, but then cops and the husbands are like, no, y'all are crazy. You're like basically just like making them think that they're just these crazy women and just gaslighting them into being like, James Harris is our friend, blah, blah, blah. But then Patricia finds out that he's actually a vampire or vampire-like. They never really confirmed what his like vampire powers are or like, you know, what that all entails. And the kids do play an aspect in this book, but I found it surprising that I wasn't annoyed by the children. I mean, they were kind of like there, but they were in the background. Let me just fix myself and get into a better angle. Also say hi to May. Like I was saying, the kids played an aspect in this book, but I think because the kids were older and they were more like background characters, I didn't find it annoying. I was surprised that I liked this book as much as I did, and I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I think my problem with horror books is because I feel like the premise isn't set up well to take you to a story that's over 300, 400 pages. Like, I've been really into like horror novellas, but I feel like Grady Hendrix wrote this book in a manner that it kept you wondering what was going to happen. There was this 3-year time jump in the book and I was like, whoa. He just has a way of creating a plot that will just like keep going and going and going and keeps making you wonder. And so this was my first Grady Hendrix books, and after reading this one, I think I would read another one of his books. I'm super surprised that I like this book. I had such low hopes for it, especially because I just knew it was focused on some Southern moms and there was like kid aspect in it. I don't know. I'm so surprised and kind of blown away. But now that I'm done with the Southern Book Club Slide, I am going to read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Now, I know the point of Summerween is to read spooky ooky books and kind of bring Halloween into the summer. However, I had a hard time finding books that took place in the summer. I had summer vibes. So this is another one that I'm going to take some liberties on because Just for the Summer has summer in the title, and I'm assuming that it's going to have some summery vibes. But this is a romance book. I know that I've been taking quite a few liberties with these prompts, and I'm so sorry. Catch me in court if that's where you would like me to be. But I'm going to start that now. I don't know how long that book is, but I'm excited to get into a romance because romance is kind of like my comfort place right now. So yeah, let's get started with that book. Welcome back, guys, to another baking time with Lexi. Sorry, this is just the way my kitchen looks, so it's not going to be aesthetic. But today I am making a blackberry lavender sheet cake. I do not have lavender, so it'll actually just be a blackberry sheet cake. The first part of this recipe is to make the jam. I've actually laid out in front of me all the ingredients that I will need to make this. And this is a recipe that I got off of Half Baked Harvest website. And I couldn't like link that down below. But it's giving summer, it's giving vibes, and I feel like since I'm currently reading the book Just for the Summer, having some like berry sugary cake is very summery. So the first part of this is to add the blackberries, honey, lemon juice into a pot over high heat and bring it to a boil. And then once it's boiling, to use a potato masher or a fork to break down the berries and then have that reduced for like 5 to 8 minutes. So I guess that's what I'm gonna start and do now. I really hope that I bought enough blackberries because it calls for 6 cups of blackberries. I am washing these blackberries, so nobody get churred and think that I'm not, because I am. Okay, so I actually did end up buying too many blackberries, and so I have this much left over. So I guess we'll just be eating blackberries for breakfast for the next couple of days. So this is what it looks like right now, and then here's my supply of stuff. This is supposed to reduce down and boil and make jam. Could I have bought store-made jam? Yes, I could have, but I guess we're doing this the hard way. Okay, so that looks pretty well mixed. Now we're just gonna add the flour, the baking powder, the baking soda, and I think then the cake will be complete. Okay, I just put the cake into the sheet pan. Hopefully it's fine and it doesn't overflow the pan. But the next part of this is to take some of the jam and swirl it into the cake. So we are gonna try to do that now. The recipe says to take 3/4 of the cup of jam and pour it in here and kind of swirl it. So we'll see if that works. Okay, here's what it looked like after I took the jam and swirled it in. I do not think that I did the jam right. I think I should have let it boil for a little bit longer and reduce down for more. So I think I'm gonna take the jam back onto the heat and try to reduce it a little bit more. But now I'm gonna pop the cake into the oven, and it's supposed to bake for like 30 minutes. I think I fucked up. Let's just put it in the oven and see if it bakes and it turns out any good. Guys, I'm gonna be so for real. I don't think I did this cake right. I think that it's gonna come out really mushy in the middle, unfortunately.
Later.
I just took the cake out of the oven. The recipe said for it to bake for 35 minutes, and I actually left it in there for 40 minutes because when I checked it at 35 minutes, it was not cooked all the way through. Like the middle was still very raw. So I left it in there for longer than the recipe called for, but at least it's fully cooked. Here is what it looks like. I am having a Instagram or a TikTok versus reality because mine does not look like the picture. So here is what the cake looks like. These are just like placemats for hot food. It does not look quite like the picture. I'll have the picture up on the screen of the fully baked cake that she made. It's still really hot right now. I'm gonna let it cool all the way before I make the icing. The icing is a white chocolate buttercream type of icing. So I'm gonna wait for the cake to cool all the way before I even start making that. Then I'll ice it and then I'll cut a slice so we can see what it looks like in the middle. Hopefully it looks a lot better once I frost it and slice into it than it looks right now, because right now it just kind of looks like mud. Anyways, let's get back to reading. I had a feeling that the cake might turn out to be a fail, so I have a bit of a backup plan while we discuss just for the summer. I have some s'mores. These marshmallows are not toasted. I do not have a stove that's fire. It is an electric stove, so there's no way that I can heat this unless I heat it over a lighter, but I don't want to cause a fire in this apartment, so we're not going to do that. If you're not aware, the whole theme of Summerween is kind of like a summer camp vibe, and so I thought s'mores would be perfect to give you this update. I can confirm for you that s'mores taste a lot better when the marshmallow is toasted. Anywho, I am like 2/3 of the way through just for the summer, and I don't know how I feel about it. May, if you're gonna join us for this update, I'd really prefer if you sat still. Let's zoom out so you can see May. Oh, actually, you still can't see her. Anywho, the story is oddly more emotional than I thought it was gonna be. So we're following Emma and Justin. Emma is a traveling nurse, and the book opens up with a Reddit post that was written by Justin saying that he has this curse placed on him as whoever dates him, once they break up, that person is then destined to find their one true love. And Emma sees this post and she responds to it saying, you know, I have the same curse, you know, I have the same deal. So they decide to meet up because what they're thinking is that the curse is going to cancel out each other. So if they date for a little bit and then they break up, then they're destined to find their one true love. But the fact that Emma is a traveling nurse kind of brings some problems into play because her next assignment is not in Minnesota where Justin lives. Her assignment is in Hawaii, but she is a traveling nurse like with her friend Maddie. So they decide to redo their contract and have the next stop be Minnesota. So then she meets Justin. What's making this oddly more emotional is that Emma has some family dynamics at play, some problems. Her mom is very flighty. She was abandoned as a child. She went through some child neglect and she went into the foster system, which is how she met Maddie. And then Justin's like emotional baggage is that his mom is gonna go to jail. Apparently she embezzled a bunch of money from her employer and she got a 6-year prison sentence. So she is supposed to turn up within jail, and he has 3 siblings that are minors and he's taking over as their guardian while his mom is in jail. I just didn't know all that going into this book, and I think that this book is more emotional than I wanted it to be. I wanted like a cute summer romance, but instead what we're getting is 2 people who have a lot of emotional baggage who are not able to dedicate time to their like budding romance because they have so much emotional problems. I just find it a little bit weird. I just wish I had gone into this knowing that it was going to be more emotional and it was not like a cozy, fun romance, good time rom-com kind of situation. I do think that Emma has some problems with commitment that's making it hard for her to want to be with Justin. Justin is fully committed. He's 100% in. He knows that Emma is the one and that he has really strong feelings for her, but Emma is just like, I'm ready to move on and go into my next rotation as a traveling nurse. I just feel like both of these characters could use with some therapy, and I'm actually really afraid that if they don't and it's like a love can fix it all kind of situation, I might get a little bit frustrated at this book. Right now it's kind of sitting at 3 stars for me. I don't know why it's so dark and so heavy. I had not previously experienced that with any of the Abby Jimenez books. I read The Friend Zone quite a while ago, gave that 1 star, thought it was horrible, and then I read Part of Your World, which, hot take, I gave that 3 stars. Everyone seems to love that book and give it 5 stars, but for me it just kind of fell middle of the road. So with this next book from Abby Jimenez being again another kind of middle of the road, I'm having mixed feelings. I don't know if I'm like this book. I'm kind of unsure that if Abby Jimenez is the author for me. So I will go ahead and finish this book today, and then I will give you guys an update. Also, I will give you guys an update with the cake. I probably will only record once the cake is finished and frosted, unless it turns out to be a hot mess. Then I'll show you my mess. So I'll check in with you guys in a little bit.
3 hours later.
Okay, I am back, guys, and I'm gonna make the icing. The cake has cooled down enough at this point. As I mentioned before, I did put the leftover jam over the heat and let it reduce down a bit, and now that I have, it's a bit thicker. I think if I'm gonna do this recipe again, is to make the jam a day ahead and let it boil down quite a lot, because now I'm going to show you it's a lot thicker. So this is what it looks like after I put it over the heat a little bit more. It's way thicker, and it's not as watery and runny as it was before, so that is a mistake that I did earlier. So I'm gonna start with the frosting. I'm gonna beat the butter and the powdered sugar together. It does call for 8 ounces of melted white chocolate. So let me just put everything together.
1 minute later.
Okay, I have run into another problem. I have this bag of white chocolate chips because this is supposed to be a white chocolate buttercream frosting, and I poured some white chocolate into a bowl and then stuck it into the microwave, hoping that it would melt. Like, normally I do this with milk chocolate all the time and it melts, but it just turned into this weird pasty gunky thing. It was in the microwave for like a minute and I don't know, it didn't go right. So a good thing I didn't use it all, because I have a little bit left over, and I'm gonna actually use the double boiler method. And I just took a pot on the stove and I'm gonna let the water come to a boil, and then I will put a bowl over it and then pour the white chocolate chips in there so that it can melt. I don't know what's wrong with this recipe, but I have about had it. I'm just, I guess, chose one of the hardest cake recipes to do today. But in the meantime, the recipe does say to put a layer of the jam on top of the cake, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mix the butter and the sugar together. And seriously, if this white chocolate thing doesn't work, I think I might cry.
1 minute later.
Guys, I just realized that I have no powdered sugar, and I'm gonna have to run to the store in order to do this frosting, so I have had it with this cake.
1 eternity later.
Okay, I went to the store. I got the fucking powdered sugar. I melted the white chocolate over a double boiler, and I gotta act fast because I don't want the white chocolate to harden, so I gotta move fast. Okay, the frosting is done. Now to frost the cake. Good Lord, I'm tired.
One day later.
So this is the finished cake from yesterday. As you can see, I frosted it with the white chocolate buttercream frosting. I put like a thin layer of jam before the frosting. As you can see there, the jam kind of mixed in, sort of, kind of. I finished Just for the Summer last night, and I'm kind of in between whether I want to give it 3 stars or if I want to give it 4 stars. The last half of the book was just Emma going back and forth about whether she should stay with Justin or she should leave and she continue traveling along. I think my biggest grind with this book was the mom. I don't know if I mentioned it already, but the mom was very toxic. She abandoned her child when she was like very young and then shows back up in Emma's life and starts dating Emma and Maddie's landlord. And it turns into just like this huge like clusterfuck. But Emma just kept giving her mom the benefit of the doubt. She's like, but I love her. She's the one person in my life that will love me no matter what. I just had a hard time with that plot line because the thing about me as a person is if there's somebody toxic in my life, toxic relationship, friend, family member, I cut him so quickly because I just personally just don't need that in my life. But Emma just couldn't grasp that through her head and it made me very hard to empathize with this person. I think she had like detachment disorder or something like that, or abandonment issues. But the last like 1/5 of the book had me gripped because it really revealed how part of your world was tied in with Just for the Summer. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, Abby Jimenez put some really good Easter eggs. Maybe it's because I read Part of Your World last year in the summer, I think, that it took my brain a little bit to like put it together. And then when it was revealed how those two were connected, I was shocked. But throughout reading the entire book, I just kind of felt like it was very mid. It was meh. So I'm just not sure if I want to give it 3 stars or 4 stars. I'm kind of in between. I guess I just won't rate it here. Also, the other thing that I didn't like about this book is that it just was unclear whether Justin and Emma actually ended up together. I mean, I think they did, but it wasn't until like the final 10 pages that become evident. So I just don't know. I'll probably put a post on the community page on YouTube what I gave this book. I just don't know how I feel about it right now. I don't know if it's a 3 or 4 stars. But the other book I read for this video was The Southern Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires. This one I gave 4 stars. I'm so surprised that I actually like this. I just think that Grady Hendrix had a way of writing a story that had me hooked and gripped. Normally I get tired with horror stories because I feel like they overstay their welcome. I really like more horror novellas, but he wrote this in a way that it had enough plot to justify being 400 pages. And then the other reason I'm so surprised that I like this is because it's about moms and their kids and then moms not being believed by their husbands. Honestly, just throw all the husbands away in this book. Just get rid of all of them because they were all trash. And I just really came to like most of the women in this book. So I'm surprised and I gave this one 4 stars. I definitely will consider picking up another Grady Hendrix book in the future because this is my first read from him and I thought this to be pretty good, so I'm excited to see what other books he's written that I might like. So that is it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed my Summerween vlogs. I really enjoy the concept of Summerween, and I'm excited to have participated this year, and hopefully I'll participate again in the future. If you guys like this video, please subscribe, please give it a like, please leave a comment below, and I will see you in another video next week.